Well, it seems as though we've had a fair amount of announcements of late of businesses that are flying the coop. And there's been a fair amount of coverage about that, too. Dillon Davis has been following those stories with the Battle Creek Enquirer, and he's here today to talk about that. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for being here today. So this seems like it was one after another after another.
I think people got the feel of that.
Yeah.
I think there was a sense that Battle Creek had a tough month or so. We lost a few restaurants, lost a few things, but I think it's important to realize that most of the it's the fourth quarter. It's the end of the fourth quarter. So as you turn the page into the new fiscal year, most places business are making tough decisions about how they're going to operate, and it's also chain restaurants and chain stores aren't doing as well. So I think those decisions sometimes come down hard, but it's not always a personal decision.
So you make a couple of good points. One, when you change the year, there's a lot of looking back on the last four quarters and maybe more. And if there's a time when a retail outlet might say, okay, this is it, it might be now. That's interesting. And another point that you've made is retail is not what it used to be. I was just doing some web searching before you got here about the top retailers and what's hot right now and things like that. And at the top of the list is Amazon.
Yep.
So, hello. The business model is different with Amazon. They build fulfillment centers and that, but all the business is online. Have you heard anything about that in your travels, about how the business model has shifted some? And is there any notion for how that will continue?
I like the sense that I have travels too. I think that's a funny notion.
Yeah, right.
I guess you have to tell me how many times that you've gone into a store and you've looked for a shirt or a pair of shoes or something, and then you went and ordered it online. You want the right color, you want the right size, and they're able to deliver it to your door, sometimes even at a discounted price to a local store.
Mm-hmm.
And not unlike the journalism industry, online retailers are trying to adjust to what to do. Amazon is hot, and online retail. I mean, you see Macy's is trimming their stores, to invest more in their online product because it's just you don't have to maintain a brick and mortar store, and you can offer a wide selection, and you can ship it right to their door with with no inconvenience to you.
And how easy is that now? You could be standing in the store with your phone looking at what the price of an item is in other stores, right there while you're standing there. And if it's not compatible, out you go. I did that recently. I bought an item, and the price I was quoted was higher than another price. And how did I know that? I was looking and comparing right on the computer. So it was easy to see. And when I told the retailer I was talking to, I see it for quite a bit less, they said, okay, well, send us that info. I guess that's what you have to do.
I mean, when you can shop and you can compare and you can find it all different places, people aren't gonna settle for what's in the store as much anymore. I mean, and I think it's the same. It's everything's in the palm of your hand. You have a computer in your pocket.
Right.
So that has hit retailers hard, and I think they're trying to find a way to adjust. And I don't think so many have. I think the way that you're adjusted is scaling down, and you see retailers like JCPenney and Sears, who are both in Battle Creek, also struggling, for the same reasons. The people are not going into their stores as much. If they want to find something, they're looking through other avenues. They're shopping and comparing and finding the a value that makes sense.
The Sears story was just in the Fox Business News this morning about how they are continuing to struggle. But you know what? They're hanging on, which is interesting. So anyway, one of the things that Dillon did in talking about this was to ask readers of the Enquirer what they wanted to see in Battle Creek. We'll talk about what they said coming up, and maybe you have an idea. I wrote a couple things down that I wouldn't mind seeing. Maybe you do too. 441-9595 is the number. What do you want to see come to that Macy's space or that Don Pablo's space or something like that? Tell us coming up on 95.3 WBCK. We're here with Dillon Davis from the Battle Creek Enquirer, who's been covering the retail situation in our midst, and particularly the changes that have been announced recently, Macy's and others that have announced these things. What do you want to see come here? That was the question that Dillon and his colleagues asked, and there were some answers. We're asking you today, too. 441-9595 is the number. Lines are open if you want to contribute to that. What was on that list? What did people say?
I think you saw for kind of on the restaurant end of that, you saw one that I always hear, and I don't understand the obsession. It's Olive Garden. People will not quit talking about Olive Garden.
Well, it's the pasta vajoles.
And you had other ones like Five Guys, Burgers and Fries. You heard, and on the retail side, you had IKEA, Trader Joe's, Costco, Five Below. And I think you're seeing kind of a trend. I think IKEA might have been skewed because it was in my original headline. It is a 4-letter word, and when you have only limited space in a if I put IHOP, people think it's only restaurants. They give you no retail.
Right,
so,
that's interesting.
IKEA did very well, but then you see the kind of the trend there was kind of affordable stores, kind of discount retailers, not entirely different than what Battle Creek already has. I mean, I got a little pushback on that, but I don't think that like Costco is that different than Sam's Club, for example. In some cases, it's more expensive. So I was curious why that was such a popular pick.
It is interesting how some of those stores come up on these lists because they are popular, and what's at the center of that? It has something to do with the way they engage the customer. So IKEA is different, and it has some kind of destination appeal to it, which is interesting. I was in there. I was over in the Detroit area with a friend, and she said, "Let's go into IKEA." Well, it was a Saturday. I said, "Are you sure?" Because Saturday, the place is like Cedar Point on June 15th. I mean, it's just packed, and it was. But there was something about, it's just something about the way it is. Costco has that relationship with its customers too, where people just love it.
There's a thought about stores, about kind of these destination stores, and they didn't crack the list, but like a Bass Pro Shop, for example.
Sure.
I mean, it's somewhere that is a regional attraction that, for whatever reason, people will come a great distance just to go to it. They wanna get their fishing gear, camping gear, whatever the case. And you did see a number of votes for stores like that are, hey, I have a good time when I go to this store, and I wanna go there. Maybe that was the case for Costco.
That could be. Well, I think that's the case with IKEA.
Mm-hmm.
You can,
sure,
go there and look at this cool stuff, and then have a meal.
Kids running around.
Yeah. It's a big experience kind of thing. Yeah. Chris is on the line from Battle Creek. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
You got an idea?
Yeah. Well, I just think that one of the things that would really help this area out, we have so much hunting and fishing in this area. I think a Gander Mountain would be a very good thing to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, you say that, and someone called and was shy, but said, tell us to say Cabela's, which is right along the line with the Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, I think if you looked, there were probably, I don't know, I'd have to look, but there was probably 10 to 15 votes total for those three people. Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, these outdoor. That was a popular pick.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, Chris, there is a Gander Mountain down the way in Kalamazoo. Do you go to that?
Frequently, yes.
Frequently.
There's one there in Coldwater. Yeah, that Gander Mountain's a regular stop for me, and I will make trips out there just to go to Gander Mountain. And we don't have a whole lot in this particular area in terms of a big outdoor store. I mean, we got Dunham's, but that's just kind of a little bit of everything. And I think that would be a really good asset.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
Certainly.
Thanks for the call, Chris. That's interesting because what you said about these things being destination places. You wonder what Gander Mountain's perspective is. So there's one 30 miles to the west and one down in Coldwater. So is this the same kind of distance they want, or do they want you to drive that distance,
I think, I picked up a little bit of Kalamazoo envy in some of the votes, too, particularly at one stretch of West Edge Avenue. I mean, you'd see a lot of votes for ones that, it's like Battle Creek is like, we want some of that. We want, sure. And, I think that's interesting. I mean, that stuff is readily available within a close distance of,
But I guess not close enough. Yeah, that's interesting. We're here with Dillon Davis from the Battle Creek Enquirer. What do you want to see come to Battle Creek? Retail, restaurants, that sort of thing was part of the coverage that Dillon offered as it relates to these stories that have been popping up about places closing in town. 441-9595 I've got a couple on my list. I'll tell you about that coming up in a minute. And it's going. One of them you're going to say, what? That's coming up in just a minute on WBCK. 95.3 WBCK. We're here with Dillon Davis from the Battle Creek Enquirer. We're talking about what you want to see come to Battle Creek. Maybe it's retail, maybe it's restaurants. And Marilyn in Battle Creek's on the line now with a thought. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi there. What I'd like to see is some more local restaurants. The chains just don't do well here.
It's a good point.
And it was when our mall first opened, probably 10 or 15, maybe even 20% of the stores were local, and it was unique. I mean, now no matter where you go, it's the same thing.
Do you think?
I would love to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, do you think there's something we could do with the city or some kind of economic development authority to try and attract folks to open more local businesses?
Encourage that, yes.
I imagine money comes into play somewhere in there.
I'm sure it does. One thing, the Cops and Donuts donut shop that's up in, is it Gaylord? I think it's not Gaylord. Clare. It's in Clare, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And they're franchising. I would sure love to see a bunch of our local police and firemen do that in the empty state police post. It would be perfect.
Interesting idea. Thank you, Marilyn, for that. 441-9595.
I will say this, that Battle Creek could do more to encourage this, but people need to acknowledge that there are a number of things that are available. The Generation E Institute, for example. Go down there and talk to Amanda Lankard. She has helped business owners from the smallest morsel of an idea into a brick and mortar place. I mean, that's what's possible there. They work through a business plan, and they work through financing, and they work through.
They guide you through it.
Yeah, and most people don't have that knowledge, and if you haven't done it, then you don't know. So there's definitely opportunity in that way. And when people say, "Oh, just go do this, go do one."
Yeah.
If you want one, talk to people. Call the city. Call around and try to find a way to make it happen. Local places are owned by local people.
Right.
Don't just say go do it.
There are more local people. Yeah. Interesting.
So.
Jennifer's in Battle Creek. Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to see a Golden Corral here. I know that these kind of places haven't lasted very long in recent years, but we need a Golden Corral because I miss that kind of thing.
Okay, fair enough. What's on my list is not. I don't mind local at all. I'm happy for that. But I said this earlier. A P.F. Chang's within a 20-mile radius would be great. Those lettuce wraps, baby, man. So that would be nice. And I'm a Tim Hortons fan, too, and I know we have one. We need more. I'd have somebody build one out here in this parking lot. Can we have a Tim Hortons stand?
You got to call them.
I got to call them and see if they'll do that. Those are my choices. But I appreciate the notion about the local thing and the perspective that folks have about that. And that's a good point about the Generation E Institute. They've been here many times. They do that business incubator competition that we've talked about in the past, and we need to have them come back and talk to us about
that. May not be for everybody. Right. That's a thing to know. But but if you have an idea for a restaurant, for a business, for something that you'd like to open in Battle Creek, they have the resources. They're situated down there near. They share a building with the BC Vision people. They're near the Chamber of Commerce. John Hart, the downtown developer, is right in that building. There are resources to be able to do this sort of thing. It's out there. Financing is always the tough thing.
Yeah.
And running a business that has small margins is going to be tough. But there's availability, and if you want to see these things, there's certainly a possibility for them.
So in your keeping track of what's going on with all of these things, are you hearing about new possibilities?
I always hear things through the grapevine, and I think you have to take most of them with a grain of salt. People will send you emails or calls, and you don't know how close they are to the information. And hey, my aunt, said from her friend who said from their, and I think that's not always the most reliable. Generally, you don't hear about this sort of thing until the ink is pretty close to dry.
True.
It's
true. So is the ink getting close to dry anywhere?
there's a couple of things I'm watching, but
okay.
But I'm not sure that there's anything to announce just yet, or if it's even my place to,
to
be the one to announce them. So.
I didn't intend for you to. I just wondered if, what the climate was, because when people hear things are closing, they start to say, oh, they start to feel badly about their town. People don't want to be here. So, I'm wondering if there's a balance to that. And obviously there is some interest.
It's critical to also realize that it's not a personal thing. That's what I said in the first segment. It's malls are struggling everywhere.
True.
Retail is struggling everywhere. Chain restaurants are struggling. I mean, it's just when you see like a Lone Star Steakhouse close, for example.
Sure.
I mean, there were a bunch of other ones that closed at the same time. Old Country Buffet closed because the company went through a bankruptcy proceeding.
Mm-hmm.
They closed like 70 restaurants as a part of that.
And that's a picture that's broader than Battle Creek, I presume. But, sometimes you go into a restaurant on a Friday night or a Saturday night, you got to wait 20, 30 minutes for a seat, and you say, there's struggles going on? Evidently there are.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just too many in some cases. I mean, I think you see places that have gone from like 1,100 locations to, and they've cut that in half, or they have it in a third, and they just are more selective because running a rrestaurant is expensive, and
Right.
it's and I think people's tastes are changing, and people are going for healthier, and they're going for kind of the organic options, and you just see taste changing, consumer interest is changing, so fewer dollars are being spent. So.
Speaking of that. We took a sneak peek tour at the Fire Hub yesterday.
Oh, is that right?
There's going to be a video that we'll post about that later. But they have some innovations in that way that they're working on, healthier kind of things that we'll talk about in that video, which is pretty interesting. So some of that is going on, which is good to hear. Well, Dillon will be watching for updates.
Good deal. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, and support these things when they come here. The Fire Hub they put a lot of time and effort into this, and
It's going to be a great place.
and the casino has no obligation to do something like that. It's an idea of one of their staff members, and they're financing it and working with local groups. When these things come, support them. Go there, spend your money there.
Right. They're putting their money into it. That's
just
right.
and let them know that's what you like. Because then there's room to grow.
Dillon Davis, Battle Creek Enquirer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Talk again soon.